The cemetery was too quiet. Not the peaceful silence of a Sunday morning, but the oppressive, suffocating kind that feels alive, as though the air itself is listening. When Nathan stepped between the crooked iron bars of Hollow Pines Cemetery, the mist closed behind him like a door. The moon hung above in a thin sickle, just enough to paint every gravestone in silver, and that's when he saw it. Perched on a child's grave was a doll. It was no ordinary doll. Its porcelain face was cracked in jagged lines, like a spiderweb across its left cheek. The mouth was fixed in a faint, almost mocking smile. Black strands of hair hung limp, glued to its face by dirt and moisture. But its eyes, the eyes weren't right. They were glass, yes, but deep inside them, something flickered, something aware. Nathan froze. The doll's head turned toward him with a stiff click. And then, it blinked. He stumbled back, heart hammering. Dolls don't blink. And then, in a voice that scraped like shovels through gravel, it whispered, "You came back, just like they promised." Nathan turned to run, but the graves around him had changed. Where empty stones had been, dozens of dolls now sat in neat rows, each one cracked, each one smiling, each one staring directly at him. And when they all began to laugh at once, high-pitched and childlike, Nathan realized the stories weren't just stories. The Labubo doll was real, and it had been waiting. 6 hours earlier, Nathan had been on the curb with his friends. 10 minutes, Jared had said with a grin. All you have to do is stand in the center of Hollow Pines. No running, no crying. Prove you're not a coward. Maya and Ellie laughed nervously. Everyone in their town knew the legend of the Labubo doll. It had started with a child's grave, Clara May, 1952-1959. Nobody knew who left the doll there, but everyone remembered what followed. Strange deaths, children missing, people hearing their names whispered at night. Ryan had shaken his head. "Dude, don't. That doll's cursed." Nathan had smirked. "It's just a toy. What's it gonna do? Blink at me?" He regretted the words now, because the doll had done exactly that. Nathan's flashlight beam cut through the mist as he stumbled between graves. His breath came in frantic bursts. The whisper followed him. At first he thought it was the wind, but there was no wind. The trees were perfectly still. The sound came from below, beneath the soil. "Nathan, stay." His knees buckled. The voice was soft, childlike, but dripping with hunger. He swept the light down and nearly screamed. The earth was moving. Tiny porcelain fingers clawed through the dirt. Dolls, hundreds of them, were digging their way out. He ran blindly. His phone slipped from his hands, the flashlight beam spinning wildly across the graves. The last thing it illuminated before smashing against stone was the Labubo doll standing upright, its cracked lips parting in a smile. "You're ours now." From outside the gate, his friends heard him. "Did you hear that?" Maya gasped. "That was Nathan," Ellie whispered. Jared rolled his eyes. "He's messing with us." But then came Nathan's scream, long, sharp, and cut off too suddenly. They ran into the graveyard, flashlights bouncing. "Nathan!" Maya called. But what they found stopped them cold. Nathan's phone lay in the dirt, cracked screen glowing. On the grave above it, where the Labubo doll had been, there was only an empty indentation in the soil. And beside the phone, carved into the dirt with jagged lines, was one word: mine. Panic set in quickly. "We need to go," Ryan shouted, but when they turned, the gate was gone. Where the entrance had been was now a row of gravestones, each with a doll perched on top. The mist thickened, curling around their ankles like living fingers. The doll's glass eyes glowed faintly in the dark, following them. Ellie clutched Maya's arm. "The stories. They said once the doll takes someone, it doesn't stop." "What stories?" Jared snapped, though his voice trembled. Ellie swallowed hard. "That it collects souls, that every time it takes someone, another doll appears." Ryan swung his flashlight across the graves. His hand shook when he realized what she meant. There weren't just a few dolls now. There were hundreds, maybe thousands, and every single one was smiling. The ground trembled. Shaking, the three remaining friends stumbled deeper into the cemetery until they reached the ruins of the old chapel. Its roof had collapsed decades ago, but the stone walls stood like broken teeth. Inside, the air was colder, the mist heavier. "Why here?" Jared muttered. Ellie ran her fingers along the wall, stopping when she felt grooves carved into the stone. She raised her flashlight. Words were etched deep, uneven, and frantic. "The Labubo doll keeps the children. The doll must never break. Do not look into its eyes." Maya's face drained of color. "Keeps the children? What does that mean?" Before anyone could answer, laughter echoed through the chapel, high-pitched, giggling. They turned, and there, sitting on the ruined altar, was the Labubo doll. Its glass eyes flickered, its head tilted. "Play with me," it rasped. Ryan gasped as something cold wrapped around his ankle. He looked down and screamed. A porcelain hand jutted from the soil, its fingers clutching tight. Another hand burst free, then another. Dozens of dolls crawled from beneath the earth, their cracked faces splitting wider as if grinning. "Help me!" Ryan shrieked as they yanked him down. Jared and Maya grabbed his arms, pulling desperately. Ellie shined the light and froze. The graves around them were splitting open, dirt shifting as more dolls clawed their way out. Ryan's scream turned into a choke as soil filled his mouth. His legs disappeared into the ground, then his torso. "Don't let go!" Jared shouted, veins bulging in his arms. But with one final tug, Ryan was gone. The earth swallowed him whole. The ground went still, silent, as though he had never existed. Jared froze. He couldn't look away. The doll's eyes glowed brighter, pulling him in like a whirlpool. His breath hitched, his pupils dilated. "Don't look," Maya screamed, shaking him. But it was too late. Jared's body went stiff, his mouth opened, and in a voice that wasn't his own, he whispered, "She wants you, all of you." Then, with a sickening crack, his neck snapped sideways. His body collapsed to the chapel floor like a puppet with cut strings. The doll crawled onto his chest, its tiny porcelain hand stroking his lifeless face. Then its head jerked toward Maya and Ellie, and it smiled wider. Maya and Ellie ran, hearts pounding. The cemetery twisted around them, every path leading back to the same rows of graves. The dolls followed. Some shuffled on stiff porcelain legs, others scuttled on all fours like insects. Their laughter filled the air, blending with whispers that rose from beneath the soil. "Ellie, this way!" Maya gasped, spotting a crypt ahead. They shoved the heavy stone door open and slipped inside. The crypt was suffocating, the air thick with dust and decay. Stone coffins lined the walls, but worse was the sound, tiny porcelain feet clicking against the stone floor behind them. The Labubo doll stood in the doorway, its cracked lips parted. "You can't leave. You're already mine." The dolls swarmed. Ellie screamed as dozens of tiny hands clawed her down. Maya tried to pull her free, but Ellie's eyes widened in terror as she was dragged into the shadows. Her scream cut off abruptly, leaving Maya alone. Sobbing, Maya stumbled backward into the center of the crypt. Her flashlight flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed her. In the pitch-black, porcelain laughter echoed all around. Something small climbed onto her shoulder. Cold, heavy. The Labubo doll's voice hissed in her ear. "Don't be afraid. You'll never be alone again." Maya's scream was the last sound Hollow Pine Cemetery ever heard. When the mist cleared at dawn, the crypt was empty. But on Clara May's grave, 4 dolls now sat in a perfect row, all of them smiling,